why do we constantly procrastinate on building good habits?
Well, let's solve that in this explainer.
We're going to build the ultimate habit formation toolkit using the absolute best behavioral science out there.
So, you've probably heard that classic piece of productivity advice, right? Just get started. But get this, a Makiwan University study on flossing found that rule provided zero extra benefit.
It turns out relying on sheer willpower to just force a start simply isn't enough.
Instead, let's look at Stanford scientist B.J. Fogg's B=MAP model. It explains how behaviors actually happen.
Basically, behavior only happens when motivation, ability, and a prompt all converge at the exact same moment.
The catch? Motivation is super unreliable. So we really need to focus on making things incredibly easy.
And that brings us to James Clear's Atomic Habits and his pretty famous 2-minute rule. To boost our ability, we intentionally shrink any new habit down into a totally simple 2-minute action.
For example, doing yoga 4 times a week, that simply becomes, taking out your mat.
If you make the start trivial, just showing up becomes the actual habit, which then naturally grows.
Okay, but what actually prompts us to trigger this tiny action in the very first place?
Enter implementation intentions. This is how we upgrade our prompt using a super simple if-then formula.
Just notice the massive contrast here between setting some vague goal and actually defining a concrete cue.
When you link a new habit to a stable daily routine, your environment triggers the behavior automatically.
Often called habit stacking, this neat strategy entirely bypasses decision fatigue by literally hardwiring your new routine.
You can also reward yourself with a favorite activity, but only after completing that tiny habit. So here's our ultimate habit toolkit, combining the absolute best science from both Fogg and Clear.
It's simple. Shrink the behavior, link it to an existing anchor, and then immediately celebrate the win.
We have to stop relying on fluctuating motivation or just telling ourselves to force a start. Instead, actively design your environment for success. So, what 2-minute habit will you intentionally build today?